Hey, man, I feel like we're kind of at the top of the mountain here, going from the AFC West, who I think might end up being the best division of football, to the NFC North, who might be number two or may actually be the best. Last year,
Mhm.
they were probably number one or close. They've been kind of going back and forth, it feels like, for a second here, but it feel kind of spoiled. But at the same time, it might be all downhill from here. So we'll see how it goes. But ready to get into this one?
Absolutely. I figured I'd start things off with Green Bay. And Green Bay, man, if they've been fun, I think this storyline is pretty obvious, which is all you need is love. That's I think that's been pretty apparent from the time he's arrived there. He kind of had big shoes to fill and came in and has done a good job with that. Last year, we got to kind of see what the team was without him for a minute, and they still were able to pull things off thanks to Malik Willis. But yeah, when he's in, they win. And this year, they continue to do things that I feel like Aaron Rodgers would be jealous of, like, hey, what do you want in your toy box this year? Let's get you a couple of shiny wide receivers or whatever else we can come up with. Matthew Golden being added to that, I think, is really, really exciting. And Savion Williams, they're picking up everybody out of Texas. And so I think that he is going to have a lot of fun. The other thing that I often forget about, and we were talking about before, was how effective Josh Jacobs is behind him in getting in the end zone. Sure, the yards are great, but we've seen a lot of teams that have good red zone to red zone offense. They just can't get over into the end zone, and he helps solve a lot of those problems. So I think with Green Bay, it's going to be keeping him healthy. They signed their right tackle, Zach Tom, just making sure that he's set for a while. I think that they're poised to be again one of the top 10 offenses in the league in what is, as we're going to go over today, a really challenging division. But I do think that he's still the linchpin of that. Even though, yes, with Malik they still were able to pull off wins, he is what drives this offense and keeps them going. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. They have they have really given him the stuff that Aaron Rodgers is probably just like, what? Where's
Yeah.
this coming from? And by the way, I saw what you did there with a nice shiny weapon with Matthew Golden. That was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I he was one of those guys that I kind of wanted the Cardinals to maybe look at. Happy with Walter Nolan, but I do really like Matt Golden, and I think he'll be a great addition to their already pretty effective passing offense. So as long as Josh Jacobs can stay healthy, and this guy can stay primarily healthy, you should be good. Although, as you were talking about, Malik Willis was not a terrible backup to have. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty
I think
good.
so. I think so.
Okay. Well, I think the secondary story coming out of Green Bay is this defense, which, man, truthfully, all of the defenses in this division are really good. But can this defense continue to be productive? Uh, I think that Xavier McKinney, everybody knows he's become one of the elite, dangerous corners out there. But Rashawn Gary, one of the things I love about this defense is I think they had 47 or 49 sacks last year, which is one of the top five in the league. But it's so spread out that you can't just gauge one person. And I think the coaching does such a good job of utilizing them. But it's really more of a question of, can they be as productive as the offense is to keep that team balanced and moving forward in a division that does not leave a lot of room for error. So that I think is going to be entertaining to see. What do you think on them being able to do that as you head towards your first team?
Oh, yeah, it's scary if they can, to be completely honest. Their defense was solid last year, I felt like, which was an upgrade from, I think, the year before. They had some real troubles with it, and it centered around Xavier McKinney. What did he have, a 7-game stretch at the beginning where he had an interception in each game or something? I've
Yeah,
forgotten. It's just every year, every game, there's another one. And they loved that addition. Instant returns is fantastic for them. I think he did it to us amongst some other teams. So I didn't feel too bad that, it wasn't like he just got 7 against us. So slightly better. But yeah, if that defense keeps up, and they will need it to because that division is so good, then it will make them a nice, well-rounded team, and it'll give them a real shot if they get into the playoffs. So yep. All right. So for my first team, I'm going to show up here. We're going to go to the Lions. And I want to talk about their defense. Last year their defense just got wrecked by injuries, and that man played 5 games. He played most of 5 games. He probably played 4.5.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what part of the game it was. He went down in that 5th, and he was on a kind of like a record-breaking pace. He had 7.5 sacks in those first four games and change. So him back alone will make a difference.
Yeah.
But all the other injuries that they had, if they can get just sort of healthy, just somewhere in the middle on defense in particular, it's going to give them the boost they need to get over the top. If you're making a list of these are the top 3-4 rosters in the NFL, I don't think you can make that list without the Detroit Lions on it. So yeah, if they can stay healthy, and it's scary to think about a team that had 13 or 14 wins last year, I think it was 14, having an even better team this year. But I think that's what we're looking at. So how good can they get? And it's Detroit. I try to keep myself remind myself it's Detroit, and they've never won a Super Bowl.
Right.
They've really struggled. They're kind of like this team up here, and they've really had a hard time. But now it's like, oh yeah, of course they're going to be a Super Bowl contender this year. It's strange how impressive that coaching staff and that culture has just flipped.
Absolutely.
What did you think of their defense as you looked at it for this year?
Well, I agree with you. I think that he's the guy right now that you really have to plan a scheme around to make sure that he's handled. You're buying time. You're keeping your quarterback safe. I imagine that as most of us fans were sad to see him out last year, every quarterback in that division was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry, but it's good to see you go." Yeah. I think about how many sacks would Caleb Williams have taken last year if Aiden hadn't been out. So we'll see. But no, I agree with you completely. It'll be very interesting to see if they can keep up that same level of production or step even to another level this year as they go forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and the working into that is they lost both coordinators, and so we've seen this with other teams where they get so good that they're a factory basically for great coordinators. And we saw the Eagles lose both coordinators back after the 2022-23 season when they lost that Super Bowl. And they had a down year. I don't know how you really call an 11-6 season a down year all that much, but it was technically lower than the year before. And then they're back in the Super Bowl. So it clearly is a culture thing that they have established in Philadelphia. The way they build rosters, the way that they bring in coaches has affected them at a base level. So do they have the same thing here? Right now, I'm voting yes. If I had to just guess, I'm voting yes. I think this guy has a real pulse on what he wants around him and the way he wants things to be. And I think he's going to bring in those guys. And the guys they brought in, Kelvin Shepard and John Morton, who I don't know very well because they've been more position coaches up until now. They're coming in from that team. So they're already a part of that culture, and they should just carry it on. But I always worry just a little bit when there's massive coaching changes. But it is something of a question. So I have some confidence in it, but I can't help but ask the question, will it just carry on? So we'll see. What did you think on that?
No, isn't it? Yeah, it's amazing. Like you've already pointed out, how quickly they have not just built a winning culture in a place where winning is not something they're used to, but that it's become so renowned across the league. Like you're a Cardinals fan, I'm a Cowboys fan. We talk to other fans of completely other, separate teams, and everybody has the same opinion of this coaching staff, that they're an elite culture building organization. And I'm very intrigued to see how does that continue this year, like you said, with all the change up. But no, I think that it's an incredible tool. How many people did they lose last year? And the next person just bought right into the system and went right from there. So no, I'm excited to see what the Lions do this season to try to repeat in this extremely challenging division.
Yep.
So with that, a big question on how coaching from theirs will work is going to be this team. How will the coaching staff handle this guy being the new leadership on the Vikings? Is he really ready to take over this team. Now, if you're a young quarterback coming into the league and you had to pick one thing, one toy that you got, Justin Jefferson would be the name that comes out of your mouth, and he's got it. So he is set from that. Addison, Naylor, Felton that they picked up in the draft. Like, he's got toys. He's got solid Aaron Jones Sr. behind him. Hawkinson at tight end. I mean, he's got the toys, but man, as we've been discussing on the other two teams already, this is an unforgiving division. Their defenses are elite. They do not ever stop coming for you. And is he ready to take on that, both from an expectation level, but also just from a capability? Like, hey, go get him, Tiger, kind of level. And that is something I really want to see him kind of jump into, is try to come out there with some confidence and then let him really go at it. But I think that's really going to be the question for the Vikings. That's going to determine the whole season, is how ready have they been able to make him going in? Do you see him being ready for this? I mean, I know that the tools around him are going to be good, but does that mean that he's going to actually be ready?
I think so. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the MVP or anything, but I think if you were looking for it, what I want is for him to be in a situation where the coach makes sure that he's mentally prepared, physically prepared, and has everything around him. Well, in a way, he already did that last year with Sam Darnold. That wasn't Sam Darnold's fifth year with the team. He walked in the door and clearly knew what was going on. I know the last 2 games happened, but the first 16 also happened. They were quite stellar for the most part. So I am confident. If they're confident, I'm confident in him. We'll see exactly how prolific those numbers are. He also comes from the last time we really did see him play. He was playing in a big time program, won the national championship in college. So like, he's, I believe, stout hearted, so to speak, and he should be good to go. And I completely agree with the whole roster. I mean, if you were asking a young quarterback coming in from college, it's like, what's top 3 locations you think? And it was like Minnesota might be 2 of those picks. So, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty confident in what they're building there. So, yeah. What else you got?
Absolutely. Yeah. So second up is going to be this defense from the Vikings. It's amazing how similar in a lot of ways this defense is to Green Bay in the way that they operate and how productive they've been. Similar, they had just under 50 sacks last year. They love going after the quarterback. I think they had the number 1 or number 2 pressure rate on quarterbacks. They're coming from all directions, and that linebacker core all across is really rotating through to see who's going in next. I think the most intriguing to me is Van Ginkel. He's been interesting. The times he goes and how he gets there is pretty entertaining. And this, they've got the new quarterback. Everybody else has the sophomore and up quarterbacks. Can they stay productive as those teams adjust to what they now know this strategy is going to be coming at them? Because they're going to need to be able to really, especially with the Lions, I think, get pressure on the quarterback if they're going to stay competitive in this division. Especially, I would expect that their offense will have a small dip. That means the defense is going to have to pick up the slack, I think. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's funny when I think about their defense. They don't have, because they had Daniil Hunter, but now I'm like, who do they have? Like this uber elite guy, as you're describing with Detroit. Detroit has Aiden Hutchinson, right? They've got this big meanie. But anymore, Minnesota is very much so a committee. It reminds me a little bit of, in a sense, what they've done in Philadelphia, where it's not one guy who's going to get 20 sacks. It's 4 guys who may get 10 sacks apiece. And so, yeah, I really like what they've done. And clearly the tone there is right. They're aggressive. They'll take the right chances. So yeah, I don't know that they're like a top 5 defense, but they're not going to drag the team down. I don't see that scenario in the works.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, last but certainly not least, in fact, maybe most when it comes to excitement and intrigue, the Chicago Bears. And I'm going to kind of cheat here. They really have one gigantic question with several components to it. And so it's kind of this. They have changed a lot of things coming into this season, and it's going to affect the offense. If you had asked me going into last year or coming into this year from last year, rather, it's like, what do they need to affect? What do they need to change to have the biggest positive effect on their offense? One of the things would have been offensive line. They need to make sure that they get the right weapons figured out for them. They might need a new coach. Caleb Williams needs to mature, and I don't mean he's acting immature. I mean that he just needs to have the game slow down for him, take what he learned in year one, and just like, oh, I can get out of situations like this, but here I'm actually running into trouble. And all of those things have an opportunity to happen. Ben Johnson was the hot guy coaching hire of the entire offseason. It sounds like he's going on The Bachelor or something, but like he's the guy that everyone was looking at, and it should make things better than what they were. There are stories about Caleb Williams studying by himself in the film room with no one walking him through stuff. I don't know exactly how much that's true. Maybe that was an anomaly that happened once or twice, or maybe that was every week. We don't really know. We weren't there, but we have an established history of Ben Johnson's offense and how it works, and it should be an improvement. He got sacked 68 times last year. If he can bring that number down to 45, which still isn't super low,
something manageable. Yeah.
Plus, they added to their weapons with this tight end they took in the first round. I always want to say it's Colson Loveland. I think it's Loveland.
Correct. Yeah.
And he looks really good. I mean, they're getting him the right weapons. On top of that, it's a tight end, and he's going to help with blocking. It should help. And then alongside that, just the coaching change philosophy, the culture there, just this all adds up to this one huge question of, can the offense become the thing? Can the offense get to the point where it's really working? Now, not to ignore the other side of the ball. The defense matters. It's not like the defense was top 5 last year, and I don't expect it to be this year. But I think it got put in bad situations last year because of some of the sputtering that the offense did. And I think that the defense will naturally kind of improve. So I don't want to ignore the existence of their defense, but I do believe the big question, maybe of any team in the NFL almost, is can you get this offense right? So yeah, what did when you look at their offense, do you think that they did enough, or do you think this is even the right question to be asking about them?
Well, I mean, from a coaching standpoint, from an overall standpoint, when you like, we were just talking about the culture shift that the Lions had. Can Ben Johnson bring in some version of that culture? Maybe it's nuanced to Chicago, but can he bring in some version of that where they can adopt it and play by it? That would be very, very exciting, very interesting to see. Caleb had a really pretty good year last year. Threw for 3,500 yards. That this is one of those teams where we were talking about earlier as well, that they went red zone to red zone pretty well. They just did not get in the end zone very well. And can he bring in some ideas, some schemes? I mean, again, they have all these amazing weapons. Can they get in? They actually, since you mentioned Colton Loveland, this is one of those tight end duos with Cole Kmet that I expect to kind of be an intriguing system going forward. Like how do they work that? How do they use that? And can they be even more productive than they were? Can they use that as another pressure release for him to keep him alive back there? But yeah, I think they've gone to a good lengths to move ahead. I also think there's the opportunity potentially with the Vikings moving to a rookie quarterback for them to make some version of headway in this division. Again, this division is so difficult to play in. Any small shift. I mean, look at how good they were doing early last year until that one fateful game, and then just everything kind of went kind of sideways for them. And so, I'm be interested to see. But like you said, they've got all the right pieces. It's just have they found the system to put them all together? And I really feel like that's where it is, and I think that they've done everything that they can do to accomplish that.
Yeah, I think the addition, if nothing else, the additions of Jonah Jackson and Joe Tooney should really have a big effect. Tooney's one of the best guards in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
So it should help that. I mean, it's an underrated portion. It's kind of another sub question would be their run game, and it should even help there. And if their run game starts working more, that'll take pressure off of Caleb. So yeah, it really is just kind of this. It dwarfs
Yeah.
all other smaller questions. I feel like with this team, this particular idea. So
Well, and since you bring up run game real quick, the one part of that run game I would like to see less of is this guy right here running. Just let's put him at risk less.
yes,
That would be good. That would be good. So
run smart for sure. So hopefully,
exactly.
working into the him taking less sacks of his own design, so to speak. I'm hoping that works
Right.
into his run game as well, where it's like he sees like I can gain 8 here and not die, or 9 and maybe die. So don't die. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm excited to see their changes this year. It's gonna be tough for the millionth time, as we said, because of that division, but
Because it's that
but it
division. Yeah.
should be a lot of fun. So that all being said, this is going to wrap up our NFC North burning questions. Next week we'll get into the East, which will be fun because that's where his Cowboys are, and for sure there won't be any mockery that happens there. But yeah, it'll be a good time. So until then, we're trying to get to 100 subscribers by the start of this coming season, the 2025 season. We have 6 weeks left or something like that. We really appreciate everyone who's clicked the subscribe button and decided to join us again. We hope that you continue to let us know how ridiculous we are in the comments. We always appreciate that. And yeah, we will see you all next week.